But who is Meryl? She was a cat who played emotional games with Theo and was used to having others desperately begging for her affection. That's why when Theo berated her, Meryl could only be weak for a few seconds before the tendons on her forehead started twitching under his hands. Ha! Seriously? I can't stand hearing that thick Grenard dialect anymore. Meryl's voice sounded completely different as she spread her 5 sharp claws out. Don't you understand? This Meryl, the beauty of Granar Village, is saying she's going to accept you. Elka smelled something was wrong and immediately stood up, alert, looking directly at her. Although the clan leader didn't want to get involved in Boss Theo's romantic matters, Elka was still ready. She stood up, approaching with her 2 sharp hooks spread out and a scary expression. Abandon that rat and come here with me. You stupid yellow cat. Oh my God, is this how girls in Granar flirt? Not only Theo, but Elka was also extremely shocked. So shocked that his mouth opened wide and couldn't close. He had a wife and child, but he had never seen such a twisted romantic situation like this, so shocked that he couldn't even jump to stop it. Yet, in front of Marel, something familiar appeared. The purple light from the stone attached on top had a dangerous aura, and the owner raised it in front of Marel, gently calling her name as a warning. I didn't think you'll be able to win Theo's favor like that. Under the hood, Iona calmly gave her about 2 seconds to calm down, but Marel's steps kept approaching. Instead of being angry, the Archmage smiled on her face. Moreover, Theo and I are already significant to each other, you know? After saying that, a purple whirlwind coiled up, shooting straight from the top of the staff towards the foolish Meryl. No matter how fierce she was, she couldn't resist Iona's magical whirlwind, and she was pushed back. White light radiated in circles, while Theo could only gape down at the hamster. Bang! The purple light suddenly pierced through a corner of the castle, shooting straight outside, taking along a smooth wall. Looking back, there was a large, triangular hole in the wall, showing the sky outside. The wind from there blew fiercely inside, so naturally, there wasn't a single green dress corner left in front of the group, much less Marl. Theo was so shocked that he, standing behind Iona, had been flung onto the floor. After a while, the cat was stunned. Meril flew away, Nya. Clan leader Elka was not unfamiliar with Archmage powers, but now his mouth was even wider than before, truly unable to utter a word. 1 cat and 1 wolf were shocked and wanted to faint, while Iona just gently closed her eyes, staggering and collapsing right at Theo's feet. The hamster's face hit Theo's leg but couldn't do anything, because Iona had pressed her face into his soft fur. She hugged him, pressing her face in a very comfortable way. I'm so sleepy, so just a bit longer. Would you let me? Not sure. She might release another spiral ball into the head of this foolish orange cat if he said no. But at this moment, Theo smiled, an incredibly affectionate and caring smile, as if nothing that happened earlier was anything at all. Using both his hands, Theo pulled Iona back onto his belly so the hamster could press her face against it. He smiled, gently patting her, in a gentle voice. Sleep well, Iona. On the outskirts of the commercial district, up on the 75th floor, rows of boarding houses stood closely packed together. This area was usually a resting stop for wandering merchants after long days of travel, offering rooms that ranged from luxurious and pristine to modest and cheap. Among the red-roofed houses, there was a 2-story building clad entirely in stone. Not only were the 2 floors below rented out, but even the attic above was put to full use. There, under the faint light filtering through a tiny window, a green goblin's hands were busy counting silver and gold coins spilled out from a cloth bag. It was Skarum, the sly green goblin known for swindling people. Strangely enough, he now found himself cramped in this shabby attic, counting his meager earnings. 4 or 5 coins. It didn't amount to much no matter how he counted. Grinding his teeth, Skarum muttered, "Sk, how much did I even make this time?" Lately, those inspection bureau guys have been way too vigilant these days. It's getting harder to snag these pushovers. With his greedy nature, if he'd made any decent money, there was no way he'd still be holed up in this dirty attic. Thinking about the times he'd scored big only made him more irritable. In frustration, he pounded on the wooden door behind him. "Hey, get it together. Bring me something valuable, will you?" Whoever was behind the door didn't reply, not even a grunt to acknowledge his words. Skarum didn't bother pressing the issue. He grabbed his familiar hat and put it on, ready to start another day of scams with high hopes of snagging bigger fish. Should I scout around to see if there's a big catch nearby? Before he could act, a massive explosion suddenly blasted through the attic wall. The goblin instinctively ducked, barely avoiding the debris. When he looked up, a large gaping hole had replaced a part of the wall. The tiny round glass window had been blown apart, leaving a gushing draft of wind sweeping through the room. Amidst the swirling dust, something white poked out from the pile of straw in the center of the attic. Skaram froze, his heart racing as he sat down heavily on the floor, too frightened to approach and check what had caused the destruction. What is going on? It wasn't until a white figure rose from the straw that he realized it was a tower monster. A trembling female voice broke the silence, struggling to steady herself. The moment she managed to stand upright, she slammed her fist into the floor, yelling furiously, "Theo! And that little brat Iona too! Those insolent bastards!" Oh, it turned out to be Meryl. She'd been blasted straight here from the mansion all the way to the 750th floor outskirts by a powerful spell from the Grand Archmage. Oblivious to her surroundings, Meryl grabbed a handful of straw, clenched it tightly, and continued cursing. "How dare they humiliate me, Meryl, the most beautiful cat! I won't let this slide." Seeing her about to rip all the straw to shreds, Skaram cautiously approached and called out softly, "Hey, Miss White Cat over there! What did you just say?" Hearing his voice, Meryl immediately turned her head, glaring daggers at him. Skaram, ever the smooth talker, had already caught on to the name Theo during her tirade. He was eager to learn more about what had happened. "Could you explain in detail what you just said? You see, I have a very interesting plan." A glint of opportunity flashed in Skaram's red eyes. He was already scheming ways to turn this into profit, even though he knew Meryl wasn't some clueless rookie merchant. Meanwhile, Meryl's angry gaze turned skeptical, but she was curious to hear what this goblin had to say. When she saw his outstretched hand as if they were old friends, she frowned in annoyance and asked, "Who are you?" By asking that single question, congratulations, she had walked right into the trap of the infamous scammer, Skaram. Later that afternoon, Hegel, the Black Wolf tribe's chieftain, arrived at the edge of the forest, near Lake Zenka, to meet his subordinates tasked with counting the numbers. As soon as he saw them, Hegel asked, "Have you confirmed the number of frogs?" They replied, "Yes, it's been confirmed, but the number has dropped significantly since yesterday." The tribe leader was utterly confused. The situation was baffling, as no one had proposed a solution yet. Why had the numbers suddenly dropped? He asked his subordinate in disbelief. How could this happen? Just then, another Black Wolf subordinate came rushing in, shouting loudly, "Chieftain Hegel!" Seeing his panicked expression, Hegel asked, "What's the matter?" The subordinate, stomping his feet in impatience, urged, "Please come with me, sir. There's something I think you need to see." Hegel followed him to the other side of Lake Zenka, where he was shocked to find dead green frogs scattered all over the ground. Each one had died in a different way. Some lay face down, others belly up with their white undersides exposed, and some even had their tongues sticking out. Dozens of green frogs were dead on the shore or floating on the lake's surface. The sight made Hegel's heart skip a beat. What's going on here? Are they all dead? While Iona would likely be thrilled to hear about the drastic drop in green frog numbers, reporting back without a proper explanation might risk angering the fiery hamster even more. In truth, the Black Wolf subordinate also had no clue what had happened, which was why he had called Hegel to see for himself. Once Hegel had taken in the situation, the subordinate pointed toward the distance. "Look over there, Chief. To the north, not far away, beyond a gently sloping mountain range, a white column of smoke was rising into the sky. It looked as though someone was roasting or cooking something." Lake Zenka had long been dominated by the frog tribe, leaving no room for other monsters to linger nearby. Frogs, being water dwellers, had no love for fire. So, who on earth was lighting fires here? Hegel immediately ordered, "We need to go check this out." Half an hour before the Black Wolf tribe spotted the smoke, in the edge of the forest, Sejun and his two young companions were utterly exhausted after clearing out an entire pile of frogs. Around them, heaps of frog corpses were stacked high, with no one bothering to clean them up. The ground bore the marks of a fierce battle, now cracked into large sections. The air was quiet, save for the sound of Sejun chewing. He had stuffed some pineapple into his straw hat and was wearily munching to gain a bit of energy. Kwong and Black Rabbit each held a piece of pineapple, but their faces lacked the enthusiasm they had shown when they first tasted the sweet fruit. Their cheeks sunken and pale, Sejun chewed his pineapple while asking the system, How many have we killed now? Astonishingly, the three of them had taken down 1,150 frogs. Though there were still over 1,000 left, they had eliminated nearly half. Exhausted, Sejun leaned against a fallen tree, staring up at the sky in despair. We've been chasing them all day without a break or even food. I'm wiped out. Next to him, his child whined, Dad, I'm hungry. This is too hard. At Sejun's feet, the rabbit warrior was also out of energy, letting out soft squeaks. The frogs were now fleeing to avoid them, making it increasingly difficult to chase them down. Though they no longer had to hunt the frogs, the group was completely spent, and all they had to eat was pineapple. Sejun held up his last piece and offered it to Kwang, asking, Do you want it? But the mere sight of pineapple now terrified the little one, as if it were a ghost. Covering its eyes with its hand, Kwang exclaimed, No, I want meat, and began to sob. Seeing this, Sejun couldn't bear it. Kneeling down to comfort his child, he said, Oh, my Kwang has grown up now? Fruits can no longer fill your belly, huh? All right, I'll go to the lake and catch some fish for you. However, just as he took a step forward, a system notification stopped him in his tracks. The fish population in the lake is unstable due to the frogs. If a middle manager eats fish from the lake, the blue carp will face an even greater risk of extinction. Sejun was dumbfounded. What? So we can't eat anything? Is there really nothing in all of Lake Zenka besides frogs and blue carp? What do you expect us to do? Of course, the system didn't bother to reply. Just then, the red bear called out, Dad, I have an idea. What is it? Sejun asked, watching as Kwang pointed at the nearest frog corpse. It took him a few seconds to realize what his child was suggesting. The red locusts are edible, so why wouldn't the green frogs be? He burst out praising Kwang. You're a genius, aren't you? His enthusiastic encouragement made Black Rabbit secretly happy. It peeked out to ask again, just to be sure. Could it be? Sejun decisively took a frog to the base of a nearby tree. Using Wooka's warrior axe, he skillfully butchered it into bite-sized pieces, carefully selecting the thighs, which had a mix of lean meat and fat. He then meticulously wrapped the frog meat with detoxifying green onions they had brought along. With those onions, any toxins in the meat would be neutralized. And even if there weren't any toxins, the green onions would enhance the meat's flavor to an entirely new level. Once everything was ready, he placed the wrapped meat on a horizontal branch and roasted it directly over a fire burning below. The aroma of grilled meat filled the air, and before long, the dish was done. Sejun laid the meat on several large leaves and sliced it into 3 portions of varying sizes. All done, let me introduce to you the masterpiece, frog and green onions roll. Black Rabbit gaped in disbelief at the new dish, while Kwang jumped up and down, showering him with praise. Dad, you're the best in the world. Even beyond his 2 kids, the system chimed in promptly to congratulate him. The achievement of creating frog and green onion roll has been accomplished. Recipe registered with cooking skill level 3. Cooking proficiency at level 3 has increased significantly. The requirements for proficiency of cooking level 3 has been met. You have leveled up. You have reached cooking level 4. As an effect of cooking level 4, special effects are imbued to the frog and green onion roll. This dish, already delicious, was now officially recognized as an achievement-worthy creation. Frog and green onion roll, a dish crafted by grilling frog meat wrapped in detoxifying green onions. With masterful cooking skills, the flavors of the frog meat and green onions blended perfectly, creating an exceptional taste. The green onions neutralized any toxins in the frog meat. Special effect, smooth movements in water. Tower Farmer Park Sejun, shelf life, 5 days. Grade C+. Wow, this is amazing. The most intriguing part for Sejun was the special effect added to the dish. It says smooth movements in water. Could it mean better swimming ability? This might come in handy for catching frogs that try to escape into the water. As Sejun pondered over the skill's potential, an impatient diner couldn't wait any longer. Kwang shot him a look of exasperation. Dad, focus on the food. Startled by his child's glare, Sejun hurriedly apologized. All right, let's eat first. Everyone gets a piece. Bon appetit. Finally, a smile of satisfaction appeared on the kids' faces. The pile of meat in front of them had been waiting long enough. Sejun cautiously took a bite to test the flavor. Remembering the time he had tried chewing on red locust meat, tough as rubber, he appreciated his teeth even more. But the frog meat was nothing like he had imagined. It wasn't tough at all. Instead, it was wonderfully tender and flavorful. Each bite came apart easily, revealing its incredible taste. The 2 kids sparkled with delight. This is awesome. It's so much better than we thought. It seemed this dish was destined to become a new favorite for both Quang and Black Rabbit. Even with Seijin, he found the dish quite impressive. The meat was soft and moist, with a discernible muscle texture that added to the experience. Usually, frog thigh meat is the toughest part, but this one was surprisingly tender and easy to chew. It wasn't greasy either, and it even had a slightly sweet taste. As soon as he took a bite, the system popped up to congratulate him. You've eaten a frog and green onion roll. As the special effect of smooth movement in water, you can now move smoothly in water for 30 minutes. That bite of frog was just a demo, folks, merely a test to see if it was edible. Behind him, 3 more pairs of cleaned frog legs were ready. Seijin pulled out a thoroughly roasted frog thigh for himself and handed another to Quang. Now that we've confirmed the taste, let's begin the real feast, shall we? Quang, who needed to eat at least 10 frogs to feel satisfied, grabbed the frog leg excitedly and told his dad to roast more. Even the rabbit's almost done with his first bite. Just as he was about to take a bite, a loud shout of "Stop!" startled Seijin. Before he could make sense of what was happening, a massive black wolf charged at lightning speed, swatting the frog meat out of his hand and sending it flying into the air. Quang hugged his frog leg tightly, refusing to let anyone take it. Holding his food in his hands only to have it knocked away was a first for Seijin. He stared wide-eyed, but it wasn't a food fight. Hegel wasn't here to snatch a meal. Instead, he howled with concern. The frogs contained poison. You mustn't eat that. His intentions were good, but his fierce appearance made him seem like a hostile black wolf looking for trouble. Out of nowhere, Quang transformed into a giant and slammed into Hegel's stomach, roaring, "Stay away from my dad!" The farmer quickly backed out of the brawl's radius, his soul barely clinging to his body as everything happened too fast to process. Hegel, caught off guard, flew backward, slamming into a nearby tree with a resounding bang. That punch was nothing short of Quang's full force. The small bear had now turned into a massive one, casting a huge shadow over the black wolf chieftain in a menacing stance. Hegel struggled to his feet, now more wary of the young but powerful bear monster. Above all, the bear's fiery temper was no joke. Quang clutched his weapon tightly, eyes blazing with ferocity. "To think you'd interrupt him while eating. I'll have to beat you up." Quang's aggression was enough to make even the battle-hardened black wolf chieftain tuck his tail. Hegel, more than anyone, knew that red bears didn't live in packs. They were lone warriors residing on the 99th floor of the tower. Alarmed, the wolf wondered, "Why is a red bear here?" Cautiously, he tried to regain his stance, but luckily, Seijin rushed in to stop his son. Wait, Quang, calm down, let's talk this out." The child glanced at his dad, not angry, but clearly able to read him like a book. "This black wolf isn't our enemy. He's just worried we might get poisoned by the frog meat. Isn't that what you were about to say, Dad?" Seijin stammered, waving his hands awkwardly, unable to deny it since his son had hit the nail on the head. Hegel, observing this from behind, felt something off. Why was the bear calling this human Dad? Then his eyes caught the black dragon pattern on Seijin's arm. He immediately bowed low behind him and shouted, "My apologies. I failed to recognize someone as great as you and acted rashly." Seijin was startled by the wolf's sudden humility. Turning around, he saw Hegel prostrating himself on the ground, respectfully introducing himself. "I am Hegel, the Black Wolf Chieftain, and I humbly greet the great Black Dragon." "Black Dragon, Park Seijin." He pointed at his own face. "Well, it's me, Park Seijin here. But why is this wolf calling me Black Dragon?" He pointed at his own face, curiously asked, "Do you know me?" Anyway, during the days when everything was a chaotic mess, someone was lounging very leisurely in the luxury mansion. Suddenly, its right ear twitched as if being pulled by someone. The orange cat looked up in surprise, letting out a soft "nya." Was this ear twitching a sign of something? Such a small movement woke up Iona. The little hamster looked up and asked, "What's wrong, Theo?" The cat replied that it felt like something was going on, though it couldn't pinpoint what. Even with such a vague feeling, Iona immediately asked, "Are you being drawn to something? Didn't you say there was nothing useful in this mansion?" Theo held both its cheeks, focusing on the thought before answering. It's not here, Nia. It's somewhere far away. It's a tingling sensation, something that makes me crave a bit of jelly, Nia." "So, you're just hungry." Iona huffed, jumping off Theo with a slightly pouty voice. I don't believe it." But her tone quickly turned cheerful as she reached a hand out to Theo. "But since it's you, should we go to this place that's pulling you?" Could Theo's feelings somehow lead them to Zenka Lake? At this time, the lake was completely still, not a ripple in sight. Ever since Seijin and his group dealt with the frogs, they had disappeared without a trace. Yet now, Seijin and Queng were sitting on a rock near the lake, staring intently at it as if waiting for something. After a long while, 4 circular ripples appeared on the water's surface, accompanied by soft bubbling sounds. From beneath, the smooth skin of frogs emerged, but their faces drooped strangely, far from the fierce look they usually had when coming ashore. Then, all of a sudden, boom! Waves surged several meters high, and the frog corpses seemed anchored to something, not drifting away. Turned out it was Hegel and the Black Wolf clan leaping ashore from the water, each with a frog in their mouths. On the clan leader's head was Black Rabbit, the adventurous little one. As soon as Seijin saw them, he jumped up. "Welcome back. How's moving through the water?" Black Rabbit hopped down and quickly reported. "Swimming and holding our breath underwater have become incredibly easy. So I could catch the frogs hiding between the rocks, but I couldn't find any more, even in the depths." Seijin skeptically opened the information panel and saw that 1,850 out of 2,291 frogs had been eliminated, meaning there were still about 500 left. But where could they be? "We've searched around the lake, but there's no trace of them," he said. Suddenly, Hegel spoke up. "I think they're hiding in a cave under the lake." Seijun, surprised, asked, "A cave under the lake?" The clan chieftain nodded, shaking water off himself as he explained. "Yes. When we first came to the lake to hunt the frogs, we tried to locate a cave under the water, which was predicted to be the lair of the Frog Queen, but we failed. It's deep underwater, and we couldn't reach it with our strength." "Strange," Seijun pondered. "Not even after eating frog green onion roll, you couldn't dive that deep?" Hegel replied, "No, even if we found the entrance, we're unsure if there's oxygen inside the cave." While the adults discussed, Kong was busy hugging Black Rabbit, licking the water off his big brother. Every trip seemed to bring the 2 siblings closer, almost like they were from the same mother. Suddenly, from behind the bushes came the sound of footsteps rustling, and someone pushed through the branches, calling out helplessly, "Boss Theo, please slow down." The cat emerged from the bushes, still as plump as ever, and scolded the one making all the noise behind it. "Why are you so slow, huh? Hurry up, nah. This place is pulling me in strongly, nya." Seijun, standing there, couldn't believe his eyes at seeing the orange cat in this place. He called out in surprise and delight, "Theo, is that really you?" The 2 little ones at his feet, Queng and Black Rabbit, were ecstatic. "Big brother Theo, it's been so long," they exclaimed. Hearing the calls, Theo turned, instantly spotting the familiar human he hadn't seen in ages. Overjoyed, he dashed over. "Mr. Seijun, is that you?" Trailing behind was the Silver Wolf clan leader, smiling in greeting, with the tiny hamster Iona perched on his head, lying flat. Seeing familiar faces, Theo's expression lit up with pure joy. "Chairman Park," he cheered, then leapt into Seijun's arms without hesitation, overflowing with excitement. "I missed you so much, nya." Completely ignoring the astonished looks from the Black Wolves, Theo's reunion sparked an unexpectedly cheerful atmosphere among the motley crew of species. Clinging tightly to Seijun's chest, the cat hastily asked, "How did you get here now?" Below, Queng and Black Rabbit clung to Seijun as well, their faces brimming with happiness. Seijun chuckled and said, "It's quite a long story." Over there, the leaders of the 2 wolf clans exchanged brief nods as a greeting. Of course, everyone was curious about why the other had come, but they figured they'd take their time to figure it out. Iona, however, was only interested in one thing. What exactly drew Theo here? Was it the chairman? Elka shrugged. "I'm not sure." Even Iona, sitting on Theo's head, had no idea what had drawn him, so how could the Silver Wolf clan leader know? "Oh well, let's just take it slow. It's not a big deal." The little hamster chuckled, watching Theo reunite with his juniors. At this moment, he didn't resemble an experienced wandering merchant or a sharp businessman. He was just a big brother eager to play with his little siblings and cuddle with his elder. But that was just Theo, a unique cat through and through. Iona understood this and softly said, "After all, he is a special cat." By the shores of Zenka Lake, the group huddled together to figure out how to deal with the green frogs. Looking at the system notification board, Seijun realized there were still around 500 frogs unaccounted for. Killing them wasn't hard, thanks to the brave warriors by his side, but the location of the deep cave under the lake remained a mystery. Iona, perched on little Queng's head for some time now, explained that the Black Wolf tribe had sent scouts into the lake many times, yet no matter how thorough the search, they found nothing but water. The farmer, holding Theo the cat in his arms, agreed that the underwater cave was their only lead. But it was merely speculation. No one had actually seen it to confirm its existence. Iona believed there was a high chance the cave was real. Several hundred years ago, this area wasn't a lake. The issue was the sheer size and depth of the lake, which limited her search magic. Suddenly, the hamster proposed an incredibly bold idea. What if we increased the temperature of the entire lake and boiled all the water? Sejun immediately objected. No, it wouldn't just harm the blue carp but all the living creatures in the water. He stopped her while marveling at Iona's capabilities, which were as astounding as ever. Did she even comprehend the size of this lake? Boiling all the water? However, Theo, licking its treat stick, seemed unimpressed. Is destroying things your specialty, Iona? It chimed in suddenly. No, the hamster squealed in protest. In times of trouble, the two would defend each other fiercely, but when things were peaceful, Theo always found a way to tease her. It was just its nature, but things didn't stop there. Iona stood upright, furiously demanding to know why Theo would say such a thing. What have I ever done to you? Well, back then, you did this and that, and just like that, the two of them, one cat and one hamster, were at each other's throats again, arguing noisily. Tribe Chief Elka could only shake his head at the scene. This is complicated. Sejun, however, noticed a sudden notification pop up. Reading the numbers made him jump. Everyone, the number of frogs is increasing. Just moments ago, there were 20,291, and now it's 2,293. The two stopped their argument immediately, staring at the farmer in shock. How could the number increase? In his panic, Sejun set Theo on the ground as Mook asked, Pyak, could it be because more eggs are hatching? He didn't know for sure. The system only reported the increase, leaving the reasoning up to them to figure out. But they needed to act fast. If we don't move quickly, we're doomed, Sejun urged. At that moment, Theo spoke up. Sejun, there's something I haven't had the chance to tell you because we haven't met lately, Nya. The cat pointed toward the blue waters. I felt a sense of attraction towards the lake, Nya. It was odd enough for a cat to feel drawn to a lake, but Theo's fascination wasn't like someone longing to dive in for a swim. Even it didn't know what the feeling meant. Iona assumed the feeling was directed towards Sejun. So, it's the lake? She asked. Yeah, Theo nodded thoughtfully. At first, I thought it was the chairman, Nya, but now that I'm here, I sense it's coming from the lake, and the pull is incredibly strong, Nya. I think I know where the cave is, Nya. Pointing at himself confidently, he declared, I can feel it in my guts, Nya. This is real, Nya. Despite their doubts, everyone decided to trust Theo. After all, the wolf tribe had searched everywhere and found nothing. If Theo claimed to know, they had no better lead to follow. Sejun carried the chubby orange cat in his arms, while Iona stood atop his head, directing the operation. My shield can maintain oxygen inside, allowing us to move underwater for up to 15 minutes. We can't predict the size of the cave entrance, so we'll limit the team to Sejun, me, and Theo to guide us. Joining us will be Kuang, Black Rabbit, and Elka. Above ground, the wolf tribe will keep watch and respond if there's an emergency. Hegel nodded in understanding and respectfully reminded the team to be cautious. We'll surround the lake to ensure no frogs get out just in case. Feeling reassured, Iona agreed. All right, I'll leave it to you. Just as they were about to head out, Theo grew uneasy. The cat broke into a sweat, its voice shrinking into a whisper. Nya, Sejun, are we really going into the water, Nya? Though it claimed to know the cave's location earlier, Theo hadn't anticipated being the guide. After all, cats usually hate water. Sejun, unaware of its fear, replied matter-of-factly, Well, you have to guide us, don't you? Suddenly, Theo began thrashing in his arms, panicking. No. What if I drown in the water? Nya. I hate water to death. Nya. It flailed wildly, making it difficult even for the farmer to keep hold of it, so he could only tell it to calm down. Theo tried its best, stopping its thrashing, but switching to trembling uncontrollably instead. Its hind legs and tail curled tightly, and its paws covered its eyes to avoid seeing the water. Looking so pitiful, who could bear to drag it into the lake? Iona gently descended and called out to it softly. Theo, you have me. Don't you trust me? Peeking up with one eye, it whispered. I do, but I'm just too scared, Nya. Though its words of trust didn't sound very convincing, Iona quickly smiled encouragingly. Don't worry, I won't let the water touch even the tip of your fur, so be rest assured and become our guide. Her words calmed Theo's trembling a bit, but the thought of going into the water still made its ears droop dejectedly. Iona kept smiling warmly and added, I trust you too. That was enough to stop Theo from shaking entirely. It was still scared, but agreed to help. All right, I'll give it a try, Nya. With preparations complete, Theo climbed onto Sejin's shoulder to boost its courage. Very well, let's go complete the quest. The group got into position, excitement rising as the two little ones below shouted in unison, "Yes, let's go." The first task fell to Iona. She raised her magical staff high and chanted loudly, "Form a sacred barrier to shield us all. Magic shield, activate!" A purple circle appeared at her feet, radiating dazzling light, and soon a large sphere formed around them. Its size was unexpectedly enormous, spacious enough for even Elka to move around comfortably. Everyone marveled as the Grand Archmage lifted the sphere from the ground, slowly ascending into the air. While Elka remained calm, most others exclaimed in delight. It wasn't every day you got to experience flying, and Black Rabbit and Kuang were especially thrilled. The Black Wolves watched from below, calling out, "Take care!" The sphere rose higher and higher, nearly reaching the peaks of the nearby mountains. Even Sejin couldn't help but exclaim, "Whoa, this is amazing! Now we're going into the water!" As everyone eagerly anticipated the moment, Theo suddenly leapt from Sejin's shoulder, clinging tightly to his face while wailing. "I knew it! This is terrifying, Nya. I can't do this, Nya. I'd like to get off, Nya. Save me, Nya." It clung so firmly that Sejin couldn't pry it off, blocking his view entirely. His muffled voice struggled to get through as Theo's paws covered his mouth. No matter what anyone said, the cat wouldn't let go. The kids tried to coax it, calling out, "Brother Theo, calm, get yourself together." But that only made it cry louder. The sphere was soon filled with a cacophony of meowing, yelling, and squealing from bears and rabbits alike. In a chaotic moment, the sphere tilted wildly and plummeted uncontrollably into the lake. The impact sent waves soaring meters high, leaving the Black Wolves staring helplessly. "They should be fine, right?" one asked their chief, Hegel. "I hope so," Hegel replied uncertainly. "But if this is how it starts, will the cat faint before they even reach the bottom?" In reality, Theo didn't faint, but clung to Sejin's face so tightly that he couldn't breathe. Its limbs latched on like hooks, and even when Black Rabbit tried pulling its tail, it refused to let go. Sejin's attempts to peel it off were fruitless. Kuang and Elka called its name repeatedly, but Theo remained oblivious, having been like this since the sphere hit the water. It wasn't until Iona's calm yet cheerful voice rang out, "Theo, there's no need to be scared. We're already inside the water," that it finally turned to look. Tears the size of pearls clung to its eyes, but at least it started listening. Once the plump cat lifted itself from Sejin's face, the farmer could finally see their surroundings. And what a sight it was. Master and servant gasped in amazement. Light from beneath the lake shimmered on their faces as they realized they had descended halfway into the lake without even noticing. Schools of fish swam leisurely in the dark water, glancing curiously at the strange newcomers before darting away. The underwater scene seemed endless. Though it took a moment for their eyes to adjust to the light, they soon noticed how breathtaking the place was. The water-repelling sphere worked perfectly, just as Iona promised, allowing them to breathe freely with not a single drop of water getting in. The scenery inside the tower was truly stunning. Sejin donned his straw hat and began scanning the surroundings with the kids. Meanwhile, Theo, no longer afraid, leapt away from its master and stared hungrily at the fish swimming below. "Fish, they look so delicious, Nya." It was amusing, a cat afraid of water, yet obsessed with eating fish. Now, submerged in the lake, it had no fear, only memories of grilled fish tantalizing its senses. When Iona called out to Sejin to guide the group, he snapped back to reality. This wasn't a sightseeing trip anyway. Seeing Theo calm down, Sejin once again hoisted the cat under his arm and asked it to sense the direction that drew it most strongly. The group followed Theo's lead. The cat, looking like a true mascot, no longer afraid of water, began focusing on the pull it was feeling. Its paw spread wide. It closed its eyes and murmured, "I can sense it. It's up ahead, Nya!" Following Theo's directions, the sphere descended deeper, sometimes directed to go further forward, other times to lower just a bit. Eventually, they realized they had passed through what appeared to be a gateway or an old stone bridge covered in moss, leading them straight ahead. Reaching the end of the path, the group discovered buildings nestled among the rocky cliffs below, a village-like structure in a valley, but still submerged underwater. There was an ancient underwater city inside the lake. Elka remained composed, but Theo was utterly shocked. "I've lived here my whole life and never knew about this, Nya." Suddenly, Black Rabbit pointed at something. "Piak! Everyone, look over there." It was a green frog, much like the ones they had been fighting above ground. This one was casually swimming into a rocky crevice not far from them, holding a blue carp in its mouth. It didn't even notice the strange group staring at it. Sejin glanced at Iona, who nodded in understanding. No words were needed. Everyone knew they had found the right place. Iona gently aimed her staff in the frog's direction. The water shield shifted silently, gliding toward where the frog had disappeared. Slowly, they followed its trail until they saw a square hole above them, sunlight streaming through. Ascending carefully, the sphere emerged on the surface of a smaller lake. Ahead lay a solid stone tunnel, dimly lit at the far end by a faint glow that stood out in the otherwise dark surroundings. Disabling the water shield, the group stepped into the tunnel. It was completely separate from Zenka Lake, with breathable air allowing them to move freely, though they tread cautiously. I can feel an extremely strong sense of attraction from that side. Nia, let's get moving, Theo declared, perched on Sejin's shoulder and pointing toward the end of the tunnel. It urged everyone to hurry along. The team moved in a tight formation, on high alert. As they neared the tunnel's end, familiar ribbit-ribbit sounds reached their ears, the unmistakable croaking of frogs. At the tunnel's exit stood a stone gate, beyond which the group froze in shock. Below them were hundreds of green frogs, all facing a massive, vibrantly colored frog at the center of the cave. Piles of blue carp lay before it, brought in by its underlings. Behind the giant frog were countless rows of frog eggs, packed tightly together. This was it, their lair. It seemed Sejin's group had stumbled in just as lunchtime, or perhaps a tribute ceremony, was underway. The queen frog, with drool dripping from its gaping mouth, was fixated on the carp pile, oblivious to the intruders. For now, the group was safe to observe. That's the frog queen, Sejin murmured, but it's way bigger than I imagined. Theo leapt off his shoulder for a better view. Lunchtime had begun. The queen's massive, webbed hand grabbed a handful of carp, shoving them into its sharp-toothed maw. Without chewing, it swallowed them whole, its blood-red eyes half closing in satisfaction. Then suddenly, the frog queen let out an ear-piercing screech, "Ka!" aimed directly at its underlings. The frogs in the front rows flinched and backed away, while those in the rear crouched low, trembling in fear. Clearly, the queen was displeased. The carp tribute was insufficient to sustain its massive body. "So that's it," Sejin muttered. "Seems like the frog queen had become trapped in this place due to her enlarged body and was being supplied food by her underlings. However, with your arrival, the amount of food brought by her underlings decreased, and she became very angry. Obviously, the queen didn't seem to care about the frogs killed by others. It only cared about the dwindling carp." Theo pointed toward the queen and whispered to Sejin, "I can feel the pull coming from that queen frog, Nya." Sejin was taken aback. Not the cave, but the queen herself. Theo, leaning too close to the rocky wall, slipped without realizing it. Losing its footing, the cat toppled forward while still looking at Sejin. Startled, Sejin lunged after it, shouting Theo's name. His quick reflexes allowed him to grab the cat's merchant cloak, but he stepped onto a patch of loose earth and lost his balance. Like Theo, Sejin slipped and fell headfirst toward the ground below. Elka cried out in alarm, but it was too late to grab him. Sejin held onto Theo's cloak tightly, shouting as he fell. Iona, however, remained calm. Raising her staff, she summoned a radiant purple light that enveloped both Sejin and Theo, slowing their descent. Thanks to her swift action, both landed safely. Still shaken, Theo stammered, "Alive! We're alive!" Sejin, gasping for breath, scrambled to his knees. Despite his many brushes with danger, this one had left him trembling. Only Iona seemed unfazed. "We almost got a big problem," she remarked, but the real trouble was just beginning. 1,000 pairs of glowing red eyes from the Green Frog army were now fixed on them. The earlier fall had caused a loud commotion, drawing their full attention. Theo shrank back in fear. "We got caught, nah!" Barely a second passed before the queen let out another bone-chilling screech. "Kia!" commanding her minions to attack. The swarm surged forward, their grotesque faces and razor-sharp teeth a clear sign that battle was inevitable. The Silver Wolf chief, along with the two younger wolves, leapt in without hesitation. Sejin's team sprang into action, snapping into combat mode. Elka immediately struck down a green frog with a single blow. Kong, having grown to full size, swung his staff, taking out several frogs at once. Black Rabbit darted nimbly through the chaos, landing a hammer strike on another. "Now that we're here, we have nothing to lose now. Piak!" Black Rabbit shouted as they fought. Sejin was about to join the fray when a notification appeared. "You have a new quest. The cause of the blue carp annihilation discovered. Defeat the mutant giant frog queen. 01. Adjusting his straw hat firmly, Sejin's earlier fear vanished. "This is it, the final part of the quest," he declared, gripping his garden knife tightly. "No turning back now. Let's go, Theo, Iona. Theo clung to Seijin's shoulder as they charged forward, while Iona flew ahead, staff in hand. I'll support you, she shouted. Seijin's team tore through the frog army with practiced precision. Kwang cleared the path with heavy staff swings, while Seijin and Black Rabbit struck down any frogs that leapt at them. Elka, though battling solo, held the rear effectively. Whenever Kwang couldn't clear the way fast enough, the hamster created a small purple swirl at the tip of her staff and shot it toward the green frogs, scattering them in an instant. Magical techniques were vastly different from physical moves. One blast could kill a dozen at once, leaving only a few scraps of skin fluttering in the wind. Amid the thick dust and chaos, Sejun and Theo emerged near the queen. Gritting his teeth, Sejun declared, "No matter how big you are, I'll take you down in one go." He hurled his axe with all his might. It spun through the air, its sharp edge gleaming, but when it struck the queen's belly, it merely bounced off, failing to pierce her tough hide. The axe soared upward, embedding itself in her massive hand. The queen showed no pain as she held the axe aloft, casting a shadow over Sejun's shocked face. "Huh? It didn't even hurt her?" he muttered in disbelief. Before he could react, the queen slammed her massive hand down where Sejun had been standing. The ground shook violently, sending his straw hat flying into the air. Only the hat remained in sight. Where was Sejun? The moment the hat flew off and hit the ground felt like an eternity to everyone. All the members of the farm froze, staring at the hat, while behind them, a swarm of green frogs was rushing forward. Elka and Black Rabbit screamed almost at the same time. "Uncle! Sejun!" Both of them suddenly felt despair in an instant. A super strong slap, white smoke billowed so thick you couldn't see if he was alive or dead, making everyone panic. Very quickly, people shifted to surprise because the Frog Queen's hand was trembling violently when resisted by some other force from below. The familiar red fur made the frog's hand unable to close its red claws. Kwang gritted his teeth. He was a big, incredibly trustworthy son for successfully saving his father. Below was Iona, marveling. She hadn't even used her magic yet, and this kid could already do it himself. Everything happened so fast. Sejun realized and loudly called for his little bear, while Theo was dangling on his arm. Seeing he could withstand the Frog Queen's power, Kwang gritted his teeth harder and conveniently flashed a confident smile. "Any guy who dared to mess with my dad will pay the price." Saying that, he gathered his strength, twisted forward, and slapped the Frog Queen with a strike as powerful as a star explosion. A fierce shout rang out. Kwang gained momentum and rushed straight forward, while the Frog Queen lost balance and tumbled backward. The creature was too fat. If it got flipped back a bit, it couldn't stop at all. This was the opportunity. Iona called out to the farmer, and he immediately understood, gripping his dagger tightly, his stance steady, while Theo had jumped up and clung tightly to his shoulder. The orange cat eyes was full of determination, just like its owner, its paws gripping his jacket tightly, not affecting Sejun's movements. He let out a long yell and charged forward. Above, Iona was pointing her magic staff down, the light spreading out beautifully, contrasting with her tense face. She had to be really precise. Because it was so precise, the dagger in Sejun's hand got enchanted, making the blade glow a deep purple. He was startled, swung it high, his body swerving to one side like he was holding onto fire. If Theo hadn't yelled in his ear, "Sejun, don't get distracted, Nya!" he would have lost focus and not known where to stab. The stomach, Nya. Theo just pinched his fingertip onto the light pink swollen belly of the Frog Queen. That was the softest part. Had to aim the weapon there accurately to have a chance to win. Sejun quickly regained his composure, frowned, and used all his speed to sweep the dagger in a long arc through that big belly. The purple light sliced from left to right, making a loud sizzling sound, and the Frog Queen could only stare, unable to do anything. The light then burst out, almost blinding, as if it wasn't a cut, but like someone had ripped open a bag containing 1,000,000 light bulbs inside. The light hit Sejun, blinding his eyes, so surprised he couldn't blink back in time. Iona was the one casting the spell, and was also so surprised that she slowed down a beat compared to normal. She swung her staff down once more, and a familiar shield covered Sejun along with Theo. Kwang quickly shrank, ducking inside to dodge just in time. The light and the terrifying wind blew everything out of sight. Everyone had to quickly turn their heads to avoid it. On Elka and Black Rabbit's side, a solid protective barrier was also set up, keeping them safe, so the Black Rabbit laughed heartily, It had never experienced such a fierce storm before. Suddenly, a thunderous explosion echoed, flickering the two barriers which still stood firm. The frogs panicked, their eyes wide as they saw their queen explode loudly, wanting to jump to rescue, but immediately fainted, the pale green skin fading away, leaving only the light of the explosion. A few seconds later, looking back, the whole area was swept clean of frogs, not a single one left. In the air, a few pieces of light scattered like shards of glass. The frog eggs below were still intact. If they were on top, they would have been blown away. Seeing it was okay, Iona then opened the shield and came over to Seijin. We almost had a big trouble. Everyone was dumbfounded, eyes staring outside, not understanding what had just happened. Just a slash through the frog queen's belly. How did it create such a big explosion? The tribe leader picked up his straw hat and came to ask, "Are you okay, Seijin?" Looking over, everyone seemed fine. The numbers intact, all thanks to Iona stepping in to protect just in time. Placing the straw hat on his head, Seijin looked up. It seemed Theo was also paying attention like him, noticing that where earlier the frog queen was standing, now there was only a strange stone. It looked like it had been cut from somewhere, with a few odd characters on it, emitting a faint green light. Could it be magic? But where was the green frog queen? There it was, Nia. That's what been drawing in. Seijin looked at the cat in surprise, checking its fierce face. But come to think of it, is this stone an item or what? He stood frozen, not knowing what to do, maybe step closer to check it out, when suddenly Iona stopped him. Seijin, don't come any closer. Strong energy is still pouring out. It's very dangerous. I'll try to use my appraisal magic, then we'll know the identity of the stone. Seeing something abnormal, plus the frog queen disappearing and leaving this stone, they have to check it thoroughly. The eyes of truth. As soon as the magic was cast, Iona's eyes lit up in a minty blue glow, different from her usual purple magic. She flew close to the stone, touched the front of it with her magic staff, and saw light emanate from it, as if blending between magical light and the stone's light. After a moment, the light softened, and the item's information panel appeared. It was written quite briefly. A fragment of something unknown. Fragment 9 of something. Divine energy is pouring out. Grade unknown. It's the first time I've seen such a mysterious item, Seijin thought. The fragment has no name, replaced by question marks? Iona pondered, I can only do up to this with my power. This is the first time I've seen this item, overflowing with divine energy. It seems the frog queen eating it caused an abnormal mutation. That frog must have been very hungry to swallow a whole stone, or she thought her fat body needed that stone to keep it stay the same size. From this, Iona could guess that when the frog queen's belly exploded, a massive concentrated energy was released. If the barrier had been even slightly delayed, we ourselves would have been erased by the divine energy. Ah, I see. Everyone was dumbfounded, realizing they had almost died. The wolf tribe chieftain smiled worriedly. Thank you, Lord Iona. Next, a notification popped up in front of Seijin, and Theo saw it too. It was a notification saying, "You have defeated the Frog Queen, one of the causes that led to the extinction of the Zenka Lake's green carp on the 75th floor of the Black. You have leveled up. You have received 1 additional attribute point. You have reached level 30. A new quest has appeared. Job quest. Plant a new type of crop never been cultivated before, up until now. Reward. Unlock level 31, 500 tower coins. A short mission to deal with later. The important thing was that thanks to the appearance of the status window, Seijin knew he had completed the previous quest. He even leveled up, but here it said it was only one of the causes. So the Frog Queen wasn't the only cause? What else is there? I thought I was going back to the 99th floor. What a buzzkill. It seemed the system still intended for him to find out the cause, but no notification appeared. Iona suggested everyone go outside first and then investigate later. Suddenly, as everyone was about to turn their backs and leave, the edge of the rock suddenly emitted a very strange green light, looking extremely odd. Seijin didn't know what it was, and no one around had an answer either. Suddenly, Theo jumped down, telling him, "It might be dangerous. Step back behind me." So Theo, along with the red bear, black rabbit, and the tribe leader, cautiously approached, peeking through the rock wall to look down, leaving Seijin and Iona behind. Seeing nothing dangerous, he went closer to check and discovered a frog egg glowing. But only one egg. The rest were all still. For the first time, Kwang saw this and cheered happily. One of the frog eggs is shining. Seijin also speculated based on what he knew. Hearing that once the Frog Queen dies, one of the frog eggs would become the new Frog Queen. It may be that egg. Suddenly, the wolf tribe leader next to him spoke up. We have to eliminate all these eggs. If the frogs are born, they will breed and overrun the lake like now. The Archmage didn't think so, saying the frogs in Zenka Lake were not a threat until now. The abnormal proliferation of the frogs is probably caused by that fragment emitting divine energy. Without the fragment, the frogs will return to their original population. Elka thought it wasn't quite right. It's not just because of the fragment. Even if the number of green frogs was reduced, they would still prey on the blue carp again. After the population explosion, the green carp was already very few. Sejin found this reasonable. It will take some time for the blue carp to breed again and their population to grow. These frogs had just been born and would keep seeing the blue carp as their food, so the end result is still extinction. Iona, frogs are carnivorous, right? I don't think so. They only catch easy fish. But I believe they also eat aquatic plants or find food outside the water. In that case, Sejun has a solution. He rummaged through his pocket and took out the stalk part of a pineapple he ate earlier with the leaves cut off. Let's plant these here. Besides, isn't he also tasked with planting a new type of crop here? Kill two birds with one stone. Let's get started right away. Using the handle of the dagger, Sejun dug a small hole and neatly placed the pineapple stalk into the ground, then covered it with soil. The 3 pineapple stalks were just planted and watered, and the system immediately popped up a notification. You have planted a pineapple crown. Due to the level 4 planting effect, the chance of pineapple roots developing has increased. Due to the level 4 planting effect, the chance of pests attacking has slightly decreased. While Sejun's group was planting pineapples, Iona used magic to shield the stone, and Kwang and Elka just sat there, watching curiously. If pineapples grew here, the frogs would naturally eat them. If they liked the taste, they'd start looking for pineapples to eat, even outside the water too. Pineapples are abundant outside the lake, enough to feed the entire frog tribe. Sejun was thrilled to see the system continuously notifying him that he had completed the mission. As a quest completion reward, level 31 has been unlocked. You have acquired 500 tower coins. Luckily, he already had pineapple shoots ready, just in time to also complete the job quest. Theo looked at him in surprise. Sejun, are you a genius, Nya? We really managed to kill 2 birds with 1 stone this way, Nya. He laughed brightly, a bit embarrassed. But this wasn't the first time Sejun had managed to do 2 things at once, probably because of his skills. How about over here? Is it ready? Sejun moved closer and saw a sealing spell wrapped around the stone, isolating it from the surrounding environment. It's only temporary, but I've put protective measures in place to prevent divine energy from leaking. Kwang picked up both the seal and the stone, excitedly calling out, Dad, look, I'm strong enough to lift it now. Sejun immediately praised his son. Whoa, you're incredible, Kwang. Then let's go find the other causes, he shouted, and everyone agreed in unison. Nobody knew that the pineapple shoots they had just planted had already started growing so quickly. As the group left Zenka Lake, the sky was still clear, but something was definitely off. The moment Sejun set foot down, everything went wild. Great wandering merchant Theo. A bunch of cats from Granar village had suddenly appeared in a group. As soon as they saw Theo on Sejun's shoulder, they all loudly called out. They were the cats from in front of Oren's manor earlier, and now they had all come over, kneeling down sincerely once more. Please take us under you. Sejun didn't know about this earlier. He had never seen so many cats since he set foot in this tower. Why were the cats behaving like this? Before he could ask, Theo was already surprised and addressed them all at once. Nyaha, you guys followed me all the way here, Nya? As he jumped down, Hegel stepped forward respectfully. Welcome back, Black Dragon. At this moment, the fragmented stone that Kwang had just placed on the ground. What's going on here? Sejun immediately asked. These cats were so stubborn, refusing to leave unless they met Theo. If they weren't even afraid of someone like Hegel, there must be something seriously wrong. We want to follow Theo until the end of the tower to receive your teachings. Please, take us in. After kneeling, they approached Theo with their paws clasped in deep respect, making Sejun only manage a reluctant smile. At this point, how could the cat refuse? Theo frowned, looking like these cats would follow him to the end. Suddenly, a notification appeared right next to Sejun. You have discovered the remaining causes that led to the extinction of the blue carp in Zenka Lake on the 75th floor of the tower. Part 2 of the Middle Manager quest has appeared. Middle Manager quest. Stop the cats of Granar village from hunting the blue carp for 1 year. Reading it left him stunned. Another cause for the blue carp's extinction was the cats from Granar village. Theo naturally knew this. Elka whispered to him, signaling Sejin to ask. With things already like this, the cat sighed silently. I have no other choice then, Nya. He looked up at Sejin and explained. The cats in Granar village rely on catching fish from the lake to make a living, Nya. If they can't catch fish for a year, the village cats will starve to death, Nya. So I'm going to take them all under me, Nya. If they all become wandering merchants, you'll be able to complete your quest. They'll definitely help in selling the crops too, Nya. I'll teach them properly. Of course, it would be even better if my bundle could be expanded. Suddenly having so many workers, Sejin smiled and agreed immediately. How could he refuse? But Theo, do you think you can handle it? You'll become the leader of 33 wandering cat merchants. Of course. Don't you believe, Nya? Theo wanted to prove his capability, so he clenched his fists, his eyes shining with confidence. Sejin nodded his head. So in situations like this, all he needed was a confident smile. Here's the important part, come. Very well. Everyone, let's come here and sign the contracts. That was probably the happiest day for the cat village recently. They immediately cheered and jumped up, agreeing right away. Each cat received a contract, and all that was left was to stamp their paws to complete it. Sejin stared at the 33 contracts, his eyes popping out, as these cats patiently waited for him to check each one individually. While the father was working, Kwang was sitting behind a rock, chewing on the grilled frog thigh he hadn't finished eating earlier. Seeing the lively scene made the little bear really happy. The Black Wolf tribe leader watched as Theo's subordinates busily held contracts in their hands, staying silent as if Hegel were the outsider. Suddenly, there was a soft call, the orange cat's ears flapping as it called the tribe leader's name, making him confusedly look down. After all that happened at Oren's Manor, every time Hegel looked at Theo, he still felt very shy. But the cat simply and sincerely spoke, "Thank you for helping Nya." "No problem. Serving the Black Dragon is my duty," Hegel replied properly, making the cat stop smiling. It folded its arms, putting on a stern face. "But we will need some hands to bring the cats to the 99th floor. Huh? The wolf looked down in surprise, not understanding. Take the cats to the 99th floor. Does that mean going with the Black Dragon's subordinates? Seeing that Hegel had somewhat understood, Theo pretended to ask further. If you're interested, would you like to come with us, Nya? I'll take you under me, Nya. All of the Black Wolf tribe, Hegel announced. Today must be Theo's recruitment day, and in an instant, he had hundreds of subordinates. This unexpected decision made Hegel's face turn bright red. Really, Theo? The wolf couldn't contain his joy. Realizing he was overstepping, he bent down to greet the cat, chattering, thank you very much. We will do our best, Sir Theo." The orange cat had earned the highest respect from the subordinates. Sejin saw that and smiled happily for it. Theo has grown up. Not only does he do his job well, but he has also become a leader and an inspiration to others. And just like that, this quest was basically finished. Sejin had completed his first middle manager quest, and the 75th floor, along with Zenka Lake, had returned to its usual peace. A series of notification panels appeared. You have completed the middle manager quest. As a reward, you receive 1,500 experience points and 1,500 tower coins. You have completed the middle manager's mission. The most important notification finally popped up in front of Sejin, giving him 30 seconds to return to the 99th floor. He had already packed everything neatly, with 2 large bags tied and ready, just waiting for the moment. After reading the notifications, he quickly turned to inform the little ones eagerly waiting. The quest is finally over. We'll be heading back the same way we got here. Quang, time to go home. Hold that stone up. The little bear didn't even need to transform into its larger form. Tiny as it was, it lifted both the large stone and the protective barrier above its head effortlessly, cheerfully responding, "I got it!" Next came instructions for the sales manager cat. Theo, register all of them as wandering merchants and head to the 99th floor together. Theo assured Sejin not to worry, saying, "I'll take everyone to sell goods on the lower floors too, Nya. Everyone, follow me, Nya." Behind Theo, 33 cats raised their paws high in unison, determined to start their grand journey from this day forward. Once Sejin finished giving orders, Elka spoke up. "We'll make a stop on the 67th floor with Iona to take more red locusts before heading back to the 99th floor. Sejun agreed immediately, bidding farewell to both Elka and Iona. "Black Rabbit, let's go." Just a few seconds left, Sejun called out to the Black Rabbit while holding 2 large bags. He was still busy packing pineapples into bundles to carry home. "Wait, Uncle, there's one more pineapple here." Black Rabbit's joyful exclamation was interrupted by a rustling noise in the nearby grass. When it turned around, a fluffy white creature approached, speaking sweetly. "Excuse me, I'm here to meet Lord Iona." It was clearly a pure white rabbit, snowy from head to toe, dressed in a mage's outfit. One hand held a thick book, while the other adjusted a pair of glasses. Behind her head was a large red ribbon, matching the color of her crimson eyes, which gleamed even brighter as they fixed on Black Rabbit. The moment she saw Black Rabbit, her words halted abruptly, replaced by a faint pew. Beneath her snowy fur, a blush was visible on her cheeks. Although Black Rabbit's fur was black, the fiery red blush on his face stood out. Brave as it usually was, the sight of a ribbon-wearing rabbit left him completely stunned. Without knowing when, the two had inched closer until only an arm's length separated them. They gazed at each other, hearts pounding, as if surrounded by a magical field of blooming flower. It was so sweet and serene, one might wish to freeze this moment in time. Yet, many others were around, and what seemed like an eternity for the pair was just a fleeting second for onlookers. "Pew, there you are!" Iona's voice called out, snapping the pair back to reality. At that exact moment, the system chimed with a ding, signaling the countdown's end. Everyone would now be teleported back to the 99th floor. Seijin was the first to disappear, leaving behind a blue streak and a mechanical hum. The gust of wind generated from his departure ruffled Theo's cloak before dying down with the light. Next, a still dazed Black Rabbit was swept away, leaving its unfinished pineapple bundle behind. Along with it was a confused white rabbit, left standing alone. Looking around, the white rabbit seemed lost. Prompting Elka to explain, they've safely returned to the 99th floor. "Payu, teleportation magic?" she asked as Iona gently landed nearby, rushing toward her. "Iona, who is this rabbit, Nia?" Theo inquired, taking the chance to ask. Iona proudly introduced, "This is my disciple. I called her here because we have some matters to discuss. I intended to introduce her to Seijin and Black Rabbit, but our timing was off." This revelation surprised Theo, who had no idea Iona even had a disciple. Not only that, but this disciple was particularly polite, bowing to Theo immediately upon introduction. The cat was caught off guard by the rabbit's formal demeanor, while the archmage simply smiled knowingly. "Nice to meet you. I've heard much about you. I am Puyu, the last princess of the Red Ribbon Kingdom. Beautiful, intelligent, and graceful. No wonder our Black Rabbit fell head over heels the moment he laid eyes on her." The teleportation magic transported Seijin and his companions back to the 99th floor in perfect condition. Even the stone Kwang carried remained unchanged. However, as soon as it landed, it caused a loud thud, leaving a long crack on the ground. Iona's protective magic surrounding the rock was exceptionally strong. Even in her absence, it remained intact. Seijin, still not accustomed to teleportation, took a few deep breaths before scanning the familiar landscape stretching to the horizon. "We're home," he exclaimed, a mix of surprise and joy in his voice. "We've returned to the 99th floor. Usually, he'd jump at any chance to leave this place, but now, having left and returned, he found himself deeply nostalgic for it." While Seijin was bursting with joy, an object flew straight into his chest at lightning speed, shouting, "Uncle!" But his face turned pale, and he couldn't even respond. Standing on his chest, Black Rabbit grabbed his shirt and shook him like a debt collector. "Uncle! Uncle! Who was that rabbit back there?" Never before had the little one been so frantic. Seijin told him to calm down, saying he had no idea. "We only saw each other for a few seconds. Pineapples scattered everywhere, but Black Rabbit couldn't care less. He was deep in thought." Seeing him like that, Seijin earnestly explained, "It seemed like she knows Iona. Maybe we can ask when they come to the 99th floor later." But judging by Black Rabbit's face, waiting didn't seem like an option. The little one was thinking hard, recalling that during the teleportation, he had definitely heard her introduce herself as Payupyu. Watching him, a realization dawned on Seijin. Black Rabbit, could it be? His face lit up with a mix of joy and slight embarrassment. The kid was finally at the age where sparks of love began to ignite. Before he could tease him, a voice called out nearby, "Seijin!" It was a whole family of rabbits, parents, children, and gray rabbits, bringing soup, grilled fish, and roasted corn to welcome him back. Above them hovered the queen bees, accompanied by representatives of the Minotaurs and Kwang. Kwang's mother rushed forward to embrace her beloved child. "Welcome home! You did so well!" they all shouted in unison, gathering around Seijin. Even the Minotaurs joined in, saying, "We missed you, Moo. We've prepared so much food for a party, Moo." Bees perched on Seijin's shoulders, chirping with excitement, while golden-furred youngsters leaped onto his lap, filling him with joy and surprise. "How did you all know I'd be back?" he asked. Father Rabbit explained. "Eileen told us." Right there was her words. "While I can't see other floors, I can make rough predictions based on the quest progress." "Oh, I see." Seijin nodded, his face lighting up with a smile. The dragon girl suddenly spoke up. "Welcome back, Seijin. You've done a great job with your first middle manager quest. It seems you're not injured anywhere." She paused, eyeing him carefully. "Wait, have you lost some weight? Was the quest difficult?" Her barrage of questions left Seijin momentarily stunned. Laughing, he grabbed a bowl of soup and replied, "Luckily, the mission wasn't too hard, but 3 days felt much longer than I expected. All we had to eat were pineapples. I thought I was going to die." She asked curiously, "Pineapples? What's that?" "I found it on the 75th floor. You need to peel them off the husk, though, so I'll let you try once I've prepared them," Seijin replied, handing the soup bowl to Rabbit Father, who said he'd take the rest to the storage room. Meanwhile, the little ones crawled all over Seijin, while the older ones began the party on the spot. The tower manager expressed eager anticipation to see the pineapple, reminding Seijin of how much he missed chatting with Aileen like this. "This is so nice," he said suddenly. "I've missed you, Aileen." "Really?" she asked. "Yes, I was so bored not being able to see your status window." Unpacking his belongings for the little ones, he stared at the notification board and asked, "Aileen, did you miss me? Aren't you bored with Kaiser around? I'd be a bit disappointed if you didn't miss me." "Ha ha ha." He chuckled awkwardly, but Aileen seemed just as flustered. When he asked if she remembered him, she went completely silent. Thinking it was a connection issue, Seijin called out, "Aileen, are you listening?" Meanwhile, Aileen clutched her crystal orb, murmuring, "There's no way I didn't." But when she tried to send her message, only 2 words came through. "Me too." Seijin frowned, puzzled. "I missed you a lot." Aileen hugged the orb tightly, shouting as if Seijin could hear her. Her face burned bright red, emotions overflowing, when suddenly her father's booming voice roared from the rooftop. "Park Seijin, you're back." "Huh?" The voice startled Seijin so much he nearly jumped out of his skin. Aileen screamed loudly, accidentally crushing the crystal orb in her hands. "Oh no, no, no!" she cried as wisps of smoke escaped from the shattered orb, carrying the images of her father and her crush away. Speechless, she stared at the broken pieces on the ground. "I was so surprised I used too much strength." "Oh no." From that point on, she could no longer send messages to Seijin. But he, having been startled by the dragon, didn't even notice the absence of the tower manager's notifications. "Whoa, you startled me, Kaiser," Seijin muttered. Kaiser snapped, "You ungrateful brat. You didn't even greet your elders upon returning. Hurry up and raise a toast. That's how we start the party, isn't it? I even made tomato juice for you myself." Kaiser's imposing demeanor didn't quite match his words about making tomato juice, leaving Seijin skeptical. "What? You did?" he asked. The baby rabbit scurried over to see, only to find Kaiser holding out a wooden bucket filled with a concoction of tomatoes, leaves, flowers, stems, and possibly even roots. Every part of the tomato plant seemed to be floating in there. The little rabbits pulled faces as they stared at the bucket's contents, while Seijun's expression darkened, his facial muscles twitching as he spotted green, unripe cherry tomatoes floating inside. "What kind of tomato juice is this? How much of crops have you stolen while I was gone?" He hit the nail on the head. Kaiser roared back, "Steal? How dare you accuse the great black dragon?" Seijin sighed, exasperated. "Please, just wipe the tomato juice off your mouth already." Kaiser stubbornly denied it. "I didn't steal. I only ate a little while helping them harvest the tomatoes. That's still stealing, isn't it?" Seijin snapped, but before he could continue, the rabbit family, who had spent their entire day tending the fields, interjected in outrage. Uncle, Lord Kaiser tore up the entire field. He even uprooted the tomato plants completely." Seijin turned to Kaiser, squinting suspiciously. "Well, anything else to say for yourself?" Honestly, if the rabbits hadn't snitched, it would have been hard to believe the great black dragon could do such a thing. Cornered and unable to talk his way out, Kaiser finally slammed his hand down in defeat. "Fine, I ate them. So what? Do you think that's a problem for the great black dragon, Kaiser Fratani? Don't forget your place, Tower Farmer Park Seijin." He jabbed a clawed finger at Seijin, barking accusations at him instead. Right at that moment, Aileen's message popped up, questioning, "Grandfather, did you steal and eat Seijin's crops? Caught red-handed while scolding the field owner?" Talk about bad timing. Aileen, holding another crystal orb in the storage room, explained she'd had to find a new one after the previous orb shattered. She hadn't seen the earlier events but had guessed and nailed it. Kaiser was flustered, scrambling to defend himself. Ha ha! Of course not. I didn't steal them. I only ate them. What does that even mean? Aileen raised her voice, pressing him further. You only ate them? Even I couldn't even eat those precious crops as I pleased. Do you know how hard it is to grow those crops? Cornered once again, Kaiser faltered, pleading. Now, let me explain. But Aileen cut him off sharply. Grandfather, I hate you. How could you eat such precious crops? I don't want to talk to you anymore. Her voice, transmitted through the orb, struck Kaiser like a hammer. Frozen before the tiny notification window, Kaiser was overwhelmed, calling out desperately, Aileen, what do you mean you won't talk to me? Aileen, but she ignored him completely, leaving the board empty of responses. Unable to coax her, Kaiser turned to Seijin with a shout. Park Seijin, say something to Aileen. I might, if you grant me a favor, Seijin replied slyly, seizing the perfect opportunity. Kaiser wanted to refuse but hesitated, knowing his granddaughter was watching. Swallowing his pride, he begrudgingly agreed. Fine, I'll do it. Just say what you want already. It's simple, Seijin said, smiling. Why don't we all have something to eat? The rabbits and minotaurs have already started the feast. Instead of standing here arguing, let's join them, enjoy the delicious produce, and have a good time. Of course, today's star dish was the pineapple. Though it was served last, the golden hue and tantalizing aroma as Seijin sliced it made everyone's mouths water. The rabbit family eagerly watched as Seijin divided the fruit. Aileen received half the pineapple as her portion, while the other half went to Kaiser. Despite its size, the pineapple was barely bigger than half a dragon's claw. Kaiser gingerly picked it up, his motions oddly delicate. The rest was shared among the little ones, with one pineapple enough to feed the rabbit family, Queng, and Seijin himself. The cool, sweet, and crisp pineapple slices were the perfect refreshment and dessert. Seijin gazed out over the fields. In just 3 days while I was gone, the 99th floor has changed so much. The crops are the same, but the landscape. His voice trailed off as he admired the improvements made by the gray rabbits, who had rebuilt the fountain and dug a canal flowing through the fields, restoring moisture to once dry soil. Meanwhile, Kaiser had synchronized Aileen's new orb with the tower's statue frequency, allowing him to communicate directly through the status window. From then on, he'd been grinning and doting on his beloved granddaughter. You're not mad at me anymore, are you? The messages confirmed she wasn't, but she did demand that Kaiser ask Saiyan for permission before eating any crops in the future. Kaiser agreed instantly. Anything his precious granddaughter asked, he would do without question. Seeing him in such a good mood, Seijun approached and asked, So, did you make up with Aileen? Still embarrassed about scolding Seijun earlier, Kaiser cleared his throat and muttered, Thanks to you. Ahem, so what's the request? Kaiser asked, his eyes sparkling with curiosity and readiness to assist. Can you appraise an item? I discovered something on the 75th floor. An item, you say? Without even knowing what it was, Kaiser's expression turned serious. Seijun led him to the edge of the fields, near the forest's border, where a stone wrapped in a protective barrier was placed. I found this item inside the belly of the Frog Queen in Zenka Lake on the 75th floor and brought it back here. A stone found in the belly of a Frog Queen? Kaiser was intrigued. And who created this barrier around it? Seijun was equally surprised. He had thought that the number of creatures in the tower capable of magic was extremely small, so Kaiser should have known. It was Iona, the magic tower master. She said it was dangerous because divine power is flowing out of it. That was all Kaiser needed to hear to understand. Using a claw, he picked up the stone along with its protective barrier for closer inspection. This is high-level magic, something even the tower's creatures would struggle to handle. Impressive. Step back. Seijun obediently moved away, allowing Kaiser to focus on his task. The dragon seemed to merely hold the shield surrounding the stone, but suddenly, a blinding light erupted, like watching a needle slowly pierce a water-filled balloon in slow motion. Moments later, Kaiser set the stone down. The barrier was gone, but divine power continued to flow gently around the stone, illuminating runes etched on its surface. At this point, the system recognized the item. Fragment of the Sacred Monument. 9th fragment of the Sacred Monument. Divine power emanates from it, benefiting the surrounding environment. The more fragments collected, the stronger the divine power becomes. Grade S. Seijun read the description, but found it utterly baffling. Divine power that benefits the environment? An S-grade item without any special abilities? The vague wording only left him with more questions. What kind of item is this? Even the information doesn't explain much. Kaiser, unfazed, reminded him, "You must not compare this to ordinary items found in the tower. This is a sacred item." A sacred item? Seijin still didn't understand. Like some sort of spiritual altar? Kaiser stared intently at the stone, his tone grave. "This is an artifact of the great creator god. The divine power bringing benefits to the environment already sounded strange, but hearing Kaiser seriously say it was the artifact of Creator God made it feel even more bizarre. The farmer stared blankly at the stone dragon, his face clearly dumbfounded. Speaking of this, the dragon said, "I've been continuously searching for traces of Creator God outside the dimensions so far, but I never expected the answer to be right under my nose all along. Who would have thought it was right here in this very tower? Did he miss something? Why does it feel like something's lacking?" Seijin quickly called out, "Lord Kaiser, I don't really get it. Could you please explain it in a way I can understand?" "Ah, all right," the dragon sighed, as if just now remembering that Seijin was just an ordinary person who had entered the tower from outside. Fine. Beings like you have a short lifespan, so you wouldn't understand." Clearing his throat once more, he called out to his granddaughter, "Aileen, you should listen too. This is important." Aileen perked up immediately. Despite her carefree demeanor, the dragon girl was very dedicated to studying matters related to the tower. "Now, where should I begin?" Kaiser pondered aloud. Sensing a once-upon-a-time moment coming, Seijin found a spot to sit down, tilting his head back, ready for a story. Kaiser thought for a moment and decided to start with the most intriguing part, right at the beginning. At the very start, we dragons were born to serve Creator God. The pride in his voice was evident even at the opening line. "Following the Creator's wishes, we maintained the peace of this world and the balance of dimensions, creating a harmonious and abundant universe of order and perfection." For dragons, who lived for millennia, generations of dragons serving Creator God was a reality spanning ages, not just some retold legend. Under the Creator's divine power, the dragon race thrived immensely during the time of his rule, an era so magnificent that dragons still refer to it as the period. In a dimension entirely different from the Black Tower, under a mesmerizing multicolored sky, was the palace of Creator God. One day, the Creator summoned the dragons and spoke of something entirely unexpected. "If I disappeared, could you use my power to maintain the world?" Creator God did not take on a grand or intimidating form. He appeared as a simple man with long hair, adorned with nothing but an authoritative golden band. His approachable nature meant the dragons didn't even perform formal rituals when meeting him. Hearing the question, a blonde dragon asked, "Creator God, are you indulging in such unnecessary thoughts again?" The god jolted upright and snapped, "I'm asking, what if that happens?" Another dragon spoke up, "That's impossible. This world belongs to you entirely. Like a star without its light, this world without you, the Creator God, is something we cannot even dare to imagine." The one who had just spoken was Kaiser Fritani, the black dragon, kneeling alongside the others. Only when Kaiser spoke did the dragons kneel down, showing their utmost seriousness. Creator God laughed at the sight. "Kaiser, you're as rigid as ever." Kaiser simply closed his eyes and remained silent, likely accustomed to such remarks from the Creator God. "You all have the capability to do so. Aren't you already doing fine even now too?" Though Creator God said this, he often made such cryptic remarks that led nowhere, so at the time, the dragons thought he was just joking with them. Occasionally, the Creator would create playful beings, like a tiny winged creature curled up in a glowing orb, mesmerizing the young dragons. They adored the Creator's playful creations, and the peaceful days went on. In the eyes of the dragons, Creator God was a passionate, yet strict, and at times a fickle being, with a temperament that could shift like the weather, sunny one moment, stormy the next. And truthfully, the dragons had grown used to it. The Creator God's power was all-encompassing, like the air they breathed. The things he created served countless purposes. But there was one thing no dragon could have ever imagined. Creator God does not lie. The day he truly disappeared arrived. That day, a massive explosion echoed through the sky, with lightning striking down to the land below where the god once resided. The ground shattered and fractured, with debris launching into the air. It was the monument of Creator God. Kaiser, with his son, and many other dragons witnessed it together. They couldn't believe where the dark energy was coming from. The dimension itself was breaking apart. What's happening? Could it be, has the Creator God truly disappeared, leaving us behind? No, it can't be. I don't believe it. The Dragon Clan could do nothing but panic and question one another. This incident was far too sudden. No one was prepared. Everyone, get ready, Kaiser commanded as the dark energy grew fiercer. Creator God left us those monuments for us to prepare for a time like this. We must secure them. If we succeed, we can recover the crumbling dimension. Before he could finish, a deafening explosion erupted above. The light and shockwaves drew all the dragon's gazes upward. The blast shattered the monuments, sending chunks of rock raining down like a storm, crashing relentlessly into the ground below. Not a single dragon could stop it. The dimension was destroying. The dragons looked at one another in despair, their cries echoing in the chaos. Even Kaiser, who had issued commands earlier, now clung tightly to his trembling son, who was sobbing in fear. Everyone felt their faith slipping away. We can't live up to the Creator God's expectations. That day, the entire Dragon Clan could only watch helplessly as meteors streaked across the sky, tearing apart the once familiar, vibrant dimension. The destructive entity that had shattered the monument into countless fragments. What was it? Where had it come from? What was its purpose? No one knew. Even Kaiser had no answers, only the certainty that it carried a very dark energy. It wasn't just the monument it sought to destroy. It wanted to annihilate everything. At that time, the dragons had no choice but to engage in endless battles to protect what little remained. Fortunately, with the lingering power of Creator God, they eventually discovered the tower, a structure within the dimension. Later, they realized they could send the remnant of life from the dying worlds into the tower. After the destruction of the monument and the collapse of the dimension, countless small, fragile creatures were wiped out. The tower became a refuge for the few survivors, no matter how sparse they were. Kaiser explained, "I've been searching for scattered traces of Creator God for a very long time, and now, after 3,000 years of wandering the dimensions..." Wait a minute, Sejun suddenly interrupted, earning an irritated glare from Kaiser, who looked like he might smack him. "What is it, Park Sejun? I was getting to the most important part of the story." Sejun nervously waved his hands in apology. "Lord Kaiser, it's just that I have a question I can't hold back any longer. Earlier, you mentioned sending the lives of dying worlds into the tower. What did you mean by that?" Sweating, Sejun considered the implications of that statement. After all, weren't humans also among the creatures allowed into the tower? "It's exactly as I said," Kaiser replied. "This tower was designed for worlds destined for destruction. Those entities will invade entire dimensions and bring countless calamities. Before that happens, the tower selects survivors and allows them entry. So those who aren't chosen can't enter the tower?" Sejun stammered. "The place where I was born, Earth, it appeared here, and that's how I got in." He hesitated, unsure how to explain, but Kaiser seemed to understand. The dragon's expression softened with sympathy. "Unfortunately, if you fail to overcome the trials of the great disaster, your world will be destroyed." Sejun froze, feeling as though lightning had struck him. His face turned pale as he stared at the dragon, words stuck in his throat. The meaning was painfully clear. Aileen, too, was speechless. She covered her mouth, unable to cry out. Sejun finally managed to blurt out some words. It was just too hard for him to get it. Since the tower appeared on Earth years ago, no one ever told us it was meant to save survivors from a catastrophic disaster. Meanwhile, on the 75th floor, in the village of the Wandering Merchants, Theo stood in front of 33 cats. After the Zenka Lake event, members of the Silver Wolf Clan and Black Wolf Clan, his subordinates, awaited orders. With so many cats around, Theo had to find a higher spot, a chair, to make his voice heard. "Has everyone registered as Wandering Merchants, Nia? Anyone left behind, Nia?" he shouted. The group responded in unison, "Yes, we've all finished." Among them were Oren and his 2 lackeys from before, though now the 2 lackeys were trusted by Theo more than the spoiled rich kid. "All right, Jeff, lead the cats and go with Elke and Elka to collect the red locust corpses," Theo commanded. Jeff was stunned, his voice rising in disbelief. "What? Me?" His high-pitched tone wasn't out of annoyance, but sheer disbelief that Boss Theo had entrusted him with such an important task. "Am I really allowed to do that?" it softly asked back, and Theo leapt down, placing both hands on its shoulders, looking deep into its eyes with utmost seriousness. "Jeff, I trust you, Nia. You've always been diligent. You've never abandoned the village and have always taken responsibility for looking after the cats, Nia. Thanks to you, these cats can become wandering merchants, Nia." They all agree too. Each cat enthusiastically raised their paws to affirm the statement. The low-tier merchant badge gleamed brightly, and every single one of them buzzed with excitement to embark on their journey. Acknowledged by the big boss and admired by the cats, Jeff felt a sudden wave of emotion well up inside. It unexpectedly dropped to its knees, bowing repeatedly and shouting, "Theo, I will serve for the rest of my life." Theo scratched its head with a sheepish grin. Although it already had subordinates, such an open declaration of loyalty was entirely new, making it impossible not to smiling. Even Iona, despite her busy schedule, stayed to watch the scene to the end. Standing quietly in the background, she smiled warmly, feeling happy for Theo. Soon after, only Elko, Hegel, and a few others remained in the merchant village. The trainee cats, along with Elka and Elke, were gathering the red locust carcasses under Jeff's guidance. Oddly enough, Theo assigned Jeff other tasks but kept Oren by its side. "Let's go too," it told Oren, "and don't forget to bring your bundle, Nia." Oren promptly replied, slinging the bundle over its shoulder, fully prepared for a journey with the big boss. "You've become quite skilled at managing your subordinates," Iona said with a smile. The cat, hands on its hips, tilted its head to the sky, basking in the compliment. "Nya ha ha ha, I'm a growing ka after all. Aren't I awesome, Nya?" "You'd have been more awesome if only you didn't say that," Iona retorted, deflating Theo's pride instantly. It bared its fangs playfully, retorting, "Aren't you being too much, Nya?" As the big boss and the Grand Archmage bickered, two of their subordinates whispered to each other. "Piu, I'm not sure about this, but what's their relationship?" Piu asked Oren, perplexed as she'd never seen her teacher argue with anyone in the tower. After all, Iona was the revered Archmage. Oren whispered back, "I'm not entirely sure. They said they have an important relationship." Their bickering subsided as Theo perked up at Iona's mention of going to the 38th floor together. Its eyes sparkled as it asked, "You can really go to the 38th floor with me, Nya? You're not planning to head to the 99th floor with Piu, Nya? And what about the 67th floor?" Elka mentioned that the red locusts are behaving strangely, Nya. Both of them climbed onto Elko's palm, who gently lifted them onto the head. Wherever they needed to go, the silver wolf would take them. "No need to split up," Iona said, explaining that the red locust's behavior was indeed changing. The cat asked, "Is that good news? Can you explain why?" The Grand Mage narrated how locusts evolved based on the size of their population. Not only red, locusts also come in yellow, green, blue, and even purple. When their numbers decrease, their color fades, and their size and strength diminish, leading to their regression. She continued while Elko and Hegel moved gently through the merchant village, drawing the gazes of all the creatures on both sides of the road at the sight of the enormous wolves. "Has anyone noticed a capybara sleeping on a bench?" Iona carried on. "Locusts' trait is their infinite gluttony. They can't stay in one place and must constantly move to find food. As terrifying as they are, this also makes the solution to them quite clear. Without new food sources, they'll succumb to hunger and start eating one another, eventually leading to their extinction." "Does this mean the behavior change you mentioned signals their regression?" Elko asked, receiving a knowing smile from Iona. "Exactly. It's a sign they're degenerating. So the red locust menace is as good as over, and the Archmage won't need to intervene herself." Meanwhile, on the 67th floor, the sky was overcast as lizard warriors checked their blade green onion after a recent locust attack. Red locust carcasses were strewn everywhere, so abundant that stepping on one was unavoidable. A yellow lizard warrior stomped on one and grumbled, "I'm sick and tired of these red locusts." Sure, they're a delicacy for their lizards, but eating the same thing all the time gets old, not to mention having to fend off their endless attacks. Suddenly, another lizard sprinted over, shouting, "General Tamuro!" It carried a locust carcass in its arms, its face full of urgency. "Sir, please take a look at this. There's a patch of blue on their heads." Following the warrior's pointed claw, Tamuro saw the bluish mark on the deceased locust's head. Eyes wide in surprise, he clenched his fist with excitement. "At last, their numbers have dwindled to about 5 billion, huh? Isn't it said they'll turn green when their population hits 3 billion? The warriors gathered around Tamuro, their spirits lifting as they finally saw hope after months of fighting. "The goal is within reach. If we can hold out just a little longer, we'll reclaim this land," they cheered. Suddenly, an unfamiliar voice rang out. It was a wild boar dressed in fine attire, accompanied by its subordinates, having arrived unnoticed. The boar smiled cordially. "Warrior Tamuro, you've worked hard. This is Tarek, leader of the large wandering merchant guild, Chaw, operating under direct orders from Grid." Clearly someone of importance, Tarek's presence prompted Tamuro to hurry forward to greet him. "Mr. Tarek, what brings you to such a dangerous place?" Tamuro asked. With his hands clasped behind his back, Tarek replied, "Many lizardmen have been sacrificing themselves for the tower. I thought it only right to visit and express my gratitude. This is a small token of appreciation from my master, Lord Grid." Tarek revealed a cloth-wrapped box, opening it to reveal a bar of gleaming gold that shone even amidst the gray skies. Is this the tower's coin guarantee medal?" Tomuro asked, taking the object, but clearly puzzled. Why had Tarek brought such a thing? Tarek explained, "If you go to the Merchant Association's bank, you can exchange it for 10,000 tower coins anytime. It's essentially a high-value promissory note." Tomuro looked at Tarek in astonishment. "How could I accept such a significant gift?" With the same practiced smile, Tarek replied, "To Lord Grid, you're a hero who protects the tower from the red locusts. He'd like to actively support you as a sponsor. Of course, once this is all over, he also plans to assist with the reconstruction efforts on the 67th floor very generously." Did Lord Grid really say that? Seeing the joy in Tomuro's eyes, Tarek knew the lizard general had fallen into his trap. His smile remained polished, but his gaze carried the weight of calculation as he noticed Tomuro swiftly tucking the gold into his chest. Tomuro, eager to reciprocate, asked, "I would like to return the favor somehow. What can I do for Lord Grid?" Now to the heart of the matter. Having received the gift, the conversation naturally flowed. Tarek responded, "Lord Grid is a humble man. Would you be willing to spend some time having tea in our tent and talking with us? The others are welcome too." Tomuro readily agreed, allowing Tarek to lead him away like a newfound comrade, with 4 lizard warriors following close behind. As Tarek mentioned that a grand feast had been prepared for everyone to enjoy, the warriors exclaimed with delight, "I'm starving! This is exciting! Finally, something other than these red locusts." Unbeknownst to them, the 2 brown dogs who had been accompanying Tarek earlier did not follow the group. Instead, they quietly turned back, smirking as they ensured the field was deserted. They opened their backpacks, pouring out piles of fresh meat, fish, and an abundance of vibrant vegetables. Their merchant bags, equipped with expansive spatial dimensions, continued to spill out food, forming massive heaps at the bottom of a ravine. The 2 dogs, grinning wickedly from above, watched as the supplies amassed below. What were they planning?